Welcome back, everybody, to Orange Track Outlaws. Today we are going to tackle a nice little project I've been wanting to do for a while, and that is turn this Hot Wheels Long Gone Semi into the older movie from my childhood, which was Big Trouble in Little China, starring Kurt Russell. Um, Used to love this semi called the Pork Chop Express. One of my favorites as a kid, and ever since I seen this truck, I had to make it. So we actually got a hold of Second Chance Red Lines, got some decals for this truck, and we're gonna get started. So here's our project. We got the Hot Wheels Long Gone Semi, and pretty cool looking truck as it is, but I think it should be it's going to be a good donor car for us to get this Pork Chop Express going. So first things first, we're going to drill the post and the mushroom heads off, take this thing apart, and see what we got to work with before we start stripping all our paint and get to building. So as usual, small bit to drill a pilot hole. We get the bigger bit, about a 1/4 inch, drill the mushroom head off there, and everything should come right apart just nicely. It's a brand new truck, so should come apart quite nice. Shouldn't have too little problem with it. Just zip them heads off and get a little screwdriver or something and pry the chassis off the body. It should pop right off. As long as you get the little mushroom head off, it should be good. So what we got here, basically we got our body, which does have a lot of the rear end attached there, but we'll be stripping that and doing a little bit different paint job. The chassis, all chrome basically. We're not going to do much with that. Maybe the front wheels or the front axle might raise that or lower that a little bit just to raise the chassis up, but interior, we're not going to do too much with that other than paint the grill and change the smokestacks, paint the air cleaners a little bit. But first thing we're going to do here is actually the second thing. If you can see there, I went ahead and chopped that air scoop off the top of the sleeper cab, but we're going to get this thing into the cabinet here, blast all that new old paint off, and this actually cleaned up real nice real quick. I didn't have to struggle with it or really work it in here or use any of the paint stripping goo. So we're gonna get this thing cleaned up, and then we're gonna get into the wire wheel grinder and see what we got to work with here. Other than that, like I said in the intro, pretty excited about this build. I hope you guys watching this remember the movie. One of my favorites, Big Trouble in Little China. I still watch it every time it's on. Can't help it. It's a fun one. It's dumb, but it's fun. But the truck's cool. Always was cool. You gotta like Kurt Russell. So here we go. We're finishing up a little bit all around this the tail end of the truck. So here's a look at what we got after sandblast, and after you can see the hole I got in the top there. Well, we're gonna get this thing in our little cabinet. We're gonna hit it with our wire wheel here real quick and try to get all that blast residue off there. Try to get a look and see if there's any blemishes or any trouble with metal that needs fixed. Since it's new, hoping there's not too much that needs to be dealt with here, but at the very least we have to clean the top real good right there around that where the hole is. We need to clean that up real good, so when we stick our putty there, it'll stick in the hold. So just gonna keep cleaning this thing up and you can already tell it's looking pretty shiny. It's actually in pretty good shape. And see what we got to work with here. But the plan to fill the hole on the sleeper cab is basically I got a real thin piece of scrap styrene. We're going to cut that thing down to size, and we're going to put it up on the inside and super glue that in place. And then we're going to take some Milliput and try to fill in the gap on the top and try to smooth it out real nice before we get the paint. So we'll get to that here in a minute. Just about done here with the wire brush. Just going to clean it up real good. You can already tell that thing's looking pretty shiny in the lights, but get a quick look here. Big difference from the residue, getting all that off there. So like I just explained here, we have took that big old air scoop off. Didn't really like it anyway, but as far as the truck we're trying to build doesn't have that. It does have a sleeper cab, but doesn't have the big air dam on the top. So what we're going to do is take a little piece of styrene, trim it to size, and we're going to glue that thing up inside that cab and try to fill the hole. No big deal really here, pretty easy. Real thin piece of styrene, just trim it to fit and glue that guy in place, let it dry, and we should be able to start working on Milliput in where necessary. So just about got her here. I know it looked like I put a lot of glue in there. I really didn't. It was just hard to get to. Just put a couple drops here and there. You guys all know, especially you guys that do this, super glue goes a long way. So just get it in there, hold it in place for 10, 20, 30 seconds or so, and you should be good to go. So just make sure all around the edges are good and sealed up. I tried to get it all around the edges, so it was real thin and a little bit of a flimsy piece of styrene. I don't want to start pushing that Milliput on there to smooth it out and having that thing break free. So just make sure you get all around the edges. Make sure it's glued in there nice and secure. You'll never see any of the ugliness in the inside, so you'll be good to go. So I think it's pretty well done. I think the hole's filled. So I'm going to take our Milliput, and you guys work with this, so it's like, I don't know, it gets like a 2-part epoxy. Just fold them together, keep folding them up. I guess basically mix the colors, get it worked in nice and smooth. If you want to keep or dip your fingers in the water a little bit, that'll help it from sticking to your fingers a little bit. It'll also help it kind of knead together a little nicer. And basically, once I get it all mixed up, I'm basically just going to try to flatten it out as best as possible and fill in our hole. Really no rocket science to it, other than get enough that you can fill in the hole, and we should be good to go. So we're just going to push this thing in here, and this Milliput is actually really easy to work with. You don't have to be perfect with it. You just want to make sure that all your gaps are filled. Do the best you can to get it as flat as you can, but all the extra will come off. You can either cut it off or you can sand it off. But if you do your best to get all that extra either off or flattened out beforehand, it will definitely make your life a lot easier when it comes to bringing the sandpaper out and having to flatten or smooth it that way. But It does help to dip your finger in the water a little bit. It makes this stuff smooth out, much easier than if it was dry. And I know I do have a corner missing right there, but like I said, if you sand it well enough, more than likely you won't be able to see it. And I'll show you later. It'll disappear and you won't be able to tell. But you can pretty much work this in. You can see I keep dipping my finger in the water, and it helps to. It doesn't liquefy it, but it does make it. It doesn't make it more pliable. It makes it a lot easier to spread out a little bit, flatten all the ridges and whatnot. So I guess you can work this really as long as you want until you're comfortable with it, and then let it sit and dry, and usually overnight. And once it sits overnight, it's good and hard, and you should have no problem, breaking out the sandpaper and smoothing that thing out and getting her ready for paint. I think I've just about got this thing how I like it, how I want it. And then that's what we'll do. We'll let her just sit overnight, and we'll come back to it the next morning. So what I'm trying to do is use the water and flatten it out, fan it out as best as possible, smooth it out until it's as best as I can do with my fingers. So I think we're good now. We're gonna let her rip. So now we're in the paint booth. We're gonna go ahead and prime this thing with a little Stynylrez white, and we're gonna get this paint job here underway. As far as the paint job goes, it's gonna be pretty basic. Gonna go with basically just a white pearl. Any of you guys that ever seen this truck, you know it's basically a white truck with some graphics around there, some stripes, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But we're gonna prime this thing up, and now we're gonna go ahead and put our pearl white, nice Createx product. I'm gonna throw a little Hot Rod Sparkle in there just for the hell of it, just to see if I can get a little extra pop out of that thing if it's really in the light. As far as the mix goes, the normal 40-30, 40-12. We're gonna probably do every bit of 3 coats on this, make it as best coverage as possible, and with the white primer, shouldn't be a problem laying the coats down. But there you go. You can see one coat. You can kind of see it. You can kind of see it in the light there. It does. You can kind of see the pearl a little bit. You can see the Hot Rod Sparkle a little bit. But we're gonna go ahead and spray another coat on here. Try to get as much coverage as possible, and make sure you don't go too heavy on it, because this stuff will run on you if you lay it on too heavy. But it does dry fast, which is what makes it a great product, and it's really easy to work with. So here we go, coat 3. We're gonna keep our coverage going here, trying to keep it level and moving all around. As far as the end goes, you can see here I did go ahead and tape the cab off. I painted the rear of the tractor black. I did chrome out the fifth wheel, chromed out the fender guards, and the top of the mud flaps. I also chromed out the cab lights and the horns on the top. And you can see the top there where we filled in. You really can't tell anything was there. It's kind of how it is. Got our tail lights put in there. As far as just the basic cab goes, this thing's looking really good. The pearl white with the little Hot Rod Sparkle edition is popping a little bit, but trying to get this thing to focus on my decals here. But this thing is called the Pork Chop Express. And I did get this from Second Chance Red Lines on eBay. I contacted them, asked them if they could make this for me. He said no problem. Knocked it out with actually a couple other designs for a couple other cars. Those builds will be coming up here directly, but I was excited to get this one done. I thought it looked sweet. But normal Tampo procedure here. Cut it to fit, let it sit in the warm water for anywhere from 10 to 30 seconds, and it ought to move. It ought to move off that back, no problem. I like to use a damp Q-tip and tweezers. It just seems to work for me best. Other people do it. Everybody does it seems to do a little bit different, but I never had any problems with this part of it. But I guess you should mention that since it is a water-based decal and I used water-based paint, that I did put a coat of 2K clear over everything before I started putting the decals on. So just in case the water-based decal didn't ruin my paint or anything. So there is I did I can't remember. I know I did at least one coat. I may have done 2 coats of clear, but after I get the decals on, I'm going to put another. I think I put 1 before. I'm going to put another 2 on after this at least. See how it looks. You're just going to have to, like every project, you just got to see how it looks and roll with it. But you can see these decals are they're going in place just fine, and they're actually fitting pretty perfectly. This thing it's starting to look almost exactly like the truck, which is what I want. This is going to be one of my cooler trucks in my collection. Like I said, one of my favorite movies as a kid. So pretty excited to have this thing in my collection. It's got to be a one-of-a-kind truck. I've never seen anybody make one like this. I've never seen it in major brands. People have made it in larger scales, and they never looked quite right, and they were really never done with the right detail. But anyway, moving to the other side, same story. Let the Tampo stick in the water, and then you can see the backing peels off real easy. Have yourself a nice little damp Q-tip. It does help to move it around a little bit to where you need it to be, and then you can take the other end and try to flatten it out, get the air bubbles out, and clean up any extra water that you have sitting on the surface anywhere. So a little bit of a tedious job, especially if you have like this when they're a little bit larger. There's a little more surface area to and some bends and corners to go around, but overall it's not that hard. So you can see there are a couple gaps in the chassis, but I'm going to go ahead and let this thing let it dry up overnight, and then I'm going to take an X-Acto knife, and then I'll cut the little areas out where the interior is going to have to go up through there, where the smokestacks go and the air cleaner goes. We'll cut those areas out after everything's nice and dry. But I don't know, really happy with how this thing's turning out so far. Not much left to go here except for the rear stripe, and pretty much got that thing on there. I did end up cutting that thing just a tad short, and you may not even be able to tell if I would never said nothing, but I know it's there. There's a little bit of gap in the corners, and I know it's there, but it is what it is. Overall, this thing turned out pretty sweet. I see that one corner there's got a little bit of a dip on it. I'll fix that before I go clear it. But I mean, as far as the movie truck goes, it doesn't get much closer than this. It looks sweet. So it's time for final assembly. We do have our interior here, which I chromed out the front grille, chromed out the smokestacks and the air cleaner. I drilled a tiny hole in the smokestacks and put a couple pieces of paper clip in there just to extend them a little bit. You can see here I cut the little spaces out where the stacks and the air cleaner goes. Other than that, it looks pretty sweet. I'm really bummed I didn't have the Sitting Lady trucker girl for the grill. If you know anything about this movie, it says hauling ass in front. It's got the little trucker Sitting Lady girl. Couldn't find one that small. Wasn't about to attempt it myself. So we're just gonna have to. That's pretty much the only detail that I had to skip. But we're gonna go and put this thing back together. Take a look what it looks like with everything in place, and I think it's gonna look sweet. Like I said here with our chassis, I did have to route out the front axle hole a little bit to lower the axle, which in turn raises the chassis a little bit. I wasn't too happy with the stance on this truck. It kind of had a down lean to the front because the axle was lower than it was in the rear, so it made it like lean to the front, and I really didn't like that. So I routed the hole a little bit. I try to get all the axles a little bit more level and make it look a little more real, a little more reasonable. And when we get the final reveal here, I think you'll understand it does look pretty cool. So this truck, I don't know, in my opinion, it's one of the baddest Hot Wheels semis out there. As far as I know, it's the only one out there that looks like this, but it's sweet. I like it. It'll be in the collection there for a while. But as usual, we're gonna take a step back, take a look at what we started with here. We got our Hot Wheels Long Gone. Cool truck, pretty good paint, had some cool kind of tribal decals on it. Absolutely nothing wrong with this truck. I like it a lot, but I thought it'd be a good donor for the truck I was trying to make. So on the chopping block it went, and as far as I'm concerned, 2 thumbs up. But here's a look at our finished product here. This is our Pork Chop Express from the movie Big Trouble in Little China with Kurt Russell, Mr. Jack Burton. Great movie. I like it. Some people might not. That's okay. I'm okay with it. But anyway, guys, I want to thank you for watching another video of mine. As usual, if you like what you see and you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button. Take a look at my other customs and my races. I'm working on some 3 Blind Mice videos right now. I'm finishing up, and stay tuned. Lots of cool stuff coming up, and I will see you guys in the next video. See ya.